I think we've all been there before. You're shopping online for an older German sports car, and you're thinking the ones from 10 or 15 years ago are the best, right? They're lighter, they're more engaging, they're at the bottom of the depreciation curve. And then you do something you probably shouldn't do. You sort the search results by lowest price first. And what you find are the basket cases, high miles, 6 to 10 owners, no service history. So our rule of thumb is simple: don't do that. Buy yourself the nicest, cleanest example that you can afford, and you will save yourself a ton of heartache down the road. But among the German brands, Porsche stands out for reliability. They develop their cars with 24-hour endurance racing in mind. So, does the rule of thumb still apply, or should you buy a clapped-out GT3? We actually have a customer who decided to find out. He found a 2015 911 GT3 with 73,000 miles, which in and of itself is pretty extraordinary. The car had very clearly done a lot of track days and a lot of mountain rallies. A roll cage is usually a pretty good clue that a car has been out on track. And it became abundantly clear that the car had not always been serviced by Porsche certified techs. The funny thing is, he didn't pick the car because it was the cheapest one on sale. He chose it because it was the only one that had all the options he wanted: carbon bucket seats, carbon ceramic brakes, front axle lift, extended range fuel tank, and a G6 motor, which we'll get into later. So he took the plunge and he bought a car that looked pretty risky on paper, in the hopes that despite the rough edges, it would prove to be a pretty bulletproof track day car. His goal was to take the car out at Road Atlanta, so he brought it to our shop in Roswell to get the maintenance up to date. Our inspection found some peculiar items. Left front tire bubbling on sidewall. Right rear wheel nut separated when removing due to missing locking spring. Bungee cord left attached to left front strut from previous repair. That kind of thing really makes you wonder who was the last person to work on the car. Our tech Gabe is Porsche trained. I've nicknamed him Mr. Meticulous because he does everything by the book. Everything is torqued to spec. So you wonder if there's this sort of opposite version of Gabe out there, like with a mustache and a devious look on his face, who's just leaving bungee cords underneath cars when he works on them. I don't know. That aside, we knocked out a laundry list of maintenance items and sent the car on its way. So that was December. In July, the car went to Road Atlanta for its maiden voyage, and about 8 laps in, limp mode, overheating, he looked at the logs, and apparently the oil temps hit about 260 degrees Fahrenheit, which the car didn't like. I mean, it was hot, this is the South, so 90 degrees, humid, but still right out of the box, these cars are able to handle that no problem, so something had to be wrong. And when he brought it back in, the problem was pretty obvious. This is actually something that we've been seeing quite a bit of here with Porsche GT cars. You've got a center front radiator, and then you've got AC condensers that sit in front of the side radiators, and they get really beat up with debris to the point that the car can't cool itself down anymore, and you get overheating issues. You might think it's related to track days, but we don't think so. We think it's actually caused by mountain rallies. At a track day, the racing line is generally kept pretty clean by all the cars going over it, and if you're following somebody, it's usually not for very long. But on a mountain rally, which are incredibly popular around here, you're spending maybe hours on end following somebody else on public roads pretty closely. Those public roads tend to have a lot more dirt and grit on them. The front of the cars are constantly being sandblasted by the tires of the car ahead, and if you add a little bit of rain into the mix, that dirt and grit ends up forming into a substance like concrete. So if you look at these heat exchangers, only maybe half of the surface area appears to be damaged or clogged, but that's the half that's in the direct airflow coming through the bumper, and so that's the part that's really doing the heavy lifting, and obviously that amount of damage was enough to cause the car to overheat at Road Atlanta. Whoever had worked on the car previously was a little bit sloppy. The bumper had been taken off before, but it hadn't been put back on correctly. Rivets had been drilled out but not re-riveted. Hardware was missing. This is where you really want to have a tech like Gabe. You know, I mentioned he's very meticulous, and so that means like he knows how to source the genuine Porsche hardware where he needs to, And if a rivet has been drilled out, like he's gonna go get his rivet gun and rivet it back on. With the correct hardware, the front bumper went back on the way it did at the factory, and the fitment looks a lot better. So considering that the oil had gotten a little bit hot, the customer wanted us to do an oil change and send out a sample of the oil to Blackstone Labs for analysis. And I think the reason he's a little bit concerned is because these cars, the 991.1 generation of GT3, is the only generation of GT3 that's known for engine failure. The 2014 cars were recalled, all 768 of them, and had their engines replaced by Porsche because of a rod bolt failure that could happen and would sometimes lead to a fire. But then the replacement engines were not perfect. They have what's called a finger follower issue, which is related to the valve train. The rocker arms can sometimes break. These cars had hydraulic lifters, so valve train problem sometimes leads to catastrophic engine failure. Porsche said, hey, we're gonna extend the warranty by 10 years, 100,000 miles. The problem is that was 2015. It's been 10 years, so a lot of those warranties are running out. Now this car had its engine replaced under warranty 18,000 miles ago with a G6 motor. That means it was the 6th iteration of the G motor, supposedly without issues. I don't know if you can be 100% certain that your 991.1 is gonna be free of issue, but this particular one appears to be safe, and the Blackstone Labs analysis came back and gave it a clean bill of health. I think that's why these are the only value in the GT3 world right now. It's just a matter of like, how much risk are you willing to take? Even though he only had one track day on his Michelin Sport Cup 2s, he decided to give a different tire a shot, and he went with the Vitor P1. That has been a very popular tire this year. It kind of came out of nowhere. In testing, they say that it's a little bit faster than the Cup 2, and whereas a set of Cup 2s for that car costs about $2,500, the Vitor P1s go for about $2,000. Now he went with a slightly wider than stock set of tires in order to get more grip out of them. That resulted in a little bit of rubbing of the fender liners, and so Gabe broke out the Dremel. From the factory, these cars have 3 mufflers. This car was purchased with a GMG center section already installed, which is effectively removing the center exhaust and straight piping it. It makes it pretty loud. He decided it was too loud, and so we put the factory center section back in. And what struck me is that the 992 GT3s are very quiet from the factory. You have to do something to make them a little bit louder, but that's because of European noise regulations. Back in 2015, the car sounded pretty good stock. Next up was an alignment, and he wanted something really aggressive for track days, even though he's gonna drive the car to and from the track. He was going for more than 3 degrees of negative camber, which is a lot. The car allows you to do that if you shim the lower control arms from the factory. The problem is you add a bunch of caster angle, which effectively means that you're pushing the wheels forward in the wheel wells too far. The car doesn't have factory caster adjustment. So we got a set of, I would call them adjustable caster pucks, but Tarek calls them adjustable thrust arm bushings. Those allow you to adjust the caster, move the wheels back. Now he's good to go. The customer complained about spongy pedal feel, and we have heard that complaint about Porsche PCCBs in the past, despite them being a very expensive factory option. We tried a couple of things. We did a brake fluid flush with racing fluid. We also replaced the rubber factory brake lines with Spiegler stainless steel lines. Rubber, in theory, can balloon a little bit under hydraulic pressure, and that's going to add to a spongy feel. The stainless lines will not balloon, and so that should make the pedal feel a little bit better. I think in this case, if we wanted to ensure that the pedal feel was going to be better, we'd have to go to an aftermarket brake kit. Customer's not quite ready for that, but the car was ready to go to the racetrack for more testing. With the car all buttoned up, we invited the customer to a private member day at Atlanta Motorsports Park so we could shake the car down. And he was kind enough to let me drive it for a session. And I have to say that within a lap, I could tell why people say that the 991.1 is one of the best driver's cars that Porsche has ever made. A lot of sports cars, when you get in them, they feel pretty good until you get to around 7 or 8 tenths of what the car can do. And then they kind of lose their composure and you start to lose confidence that the car wants to go any further. Not so with this car. I felt like the harder I pushed it, the more confidence it gave me. And it was like the car was saying, hey, we can go a little bit faster. Within a handful of laps, I ran a 1 minute and 32-second lap, which is pretty brisk for AMP. What really stands out to me though, is that this is a 75,000 mile car. A lot of those miles have been very hard miles. And now that it's been refreshed, it feels like new. It runs great. The customer has no regrets about buying this example. In fact, he called a couple of weeks ago to plan for a round of upgrades to make it even better. We ordered the parts last week. I can't wait.